All right, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Pause Rewind Play podcast. We're here doing another web remote distance sessions. I don't know what we should call these things. I don't know, like digitally delivered goods sections. I don't know, but we're here. We're gonna talk about something new, notorious, and something that literally caught everyone by storm: the freaking Tiger King. Josh, how you doing tonight?
I am doing super excellent. It's Monday, which for a lot of people normally isn't great, but I'm here. I spent some quality time with my wife today. I worked from home, got a lot of work done. Life is about as good as it can be when you're stuck in quarantine. So,
Just kind of
everything's good.
so you're just kind of making do with what you have, yeah?
Basically, life at home, I thought about it today a lot actually, where, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world and a lot of bad things happening, but I took a second and I looked around at my wife and my dog, and I just realized, there's a lot worse places I could be than at home with me and my wife. So decided to make the
Cute.
best of it.
That's super cute. And also, I want to introduce our guest tonight, the wonderful, the amazing, the fiery, my wife, Allison. How's it going?
I'm
The
good. How are you?
fiery.
The fiery. That's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, enjoying time in quarantine now?
Yeah, I'm gonna hang out with you in June, so life is pretty good.
It's pretty solid. We got your bike going this week, and so we've been social distancing via bike riding.
Yes, it's been excellent.
Yeah, we're loving
That's
it.
great.
Finally figured out a way to wear out our dog.
it's pretty glorious. Josh, here's a question though. While you've been in
Yes.
quarantine, have you been looking into John Krasinski's Some Good News posts that he's been doing?
I've definitely watched every single one of them.
Oh,
Nice.
2 of them?
No, there's a third one. That
There's a
just
third
There's a
one?
third one today. Yep.
How did we not watch that just barely?
Well, we didn't quite have the time to get into it because, we've been doing other things. Life has been coming at us fast, but we have looked into the good news. And I know, last time we made a joke about no free advertising, but literally, if you want something really good in your day right now and you're feeling kind of down, John Krasinski he was a star in The Office. He's currently a star in, what's it called?
Jack Ryan.
Jack Ryan on Amazon. He's just an extraordinary human, and he's using kind of his power for good to dig up the good that's going on in the world. And I think that that's just a super quality thing. On his second episode, he drags in the whole cast of Hamilton to sing to this little girl whose tickets to Hamilton got canceled because of the COVID. And I think both Allie and I can agree we might have shed a few tears at those moments.
Oh, I definitely did.
So
I definitely got emotional at that point. There's so much good stuff that goes on with that. John Krasinski, we all love him. He's also the amazing director behind A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place 2, which sadly has been pushed to later this year. But that was another good news thing that I thought about today. I said, hey, even though we'll be kind of stuck without a lot of new content for a while, I mean, the end of 2020 is going to be bomb for movies because basically all of the movies that were supposed to be fire in 2020 got pushed to the end, and so the end of 2020 is just going to be a straight amazing movie, just boom, all of them all at once.
Josh,
We're just all gonna have to go to the movies and just stay there all day.
They're gonna offer a seat rental option
Yeah,
where you can just
seriously.
stay there for 3 to 5 movies in the same seat, and they'll just switch up the movie playing in the theater.
Perfect.
Well, Josh,
I'll
what
buy
have you
it.
been watching this past week?
I'm not gonna lie, it started out with just me, and then after she watched a few episodes when we were into it, my wife got into it, so then I had to wait while she went back and rewatched the first ones, and now we are most of the way through season 2 of Money Heist, which, if you guys haven't watched Money Heist, it's an amazing series on Netflix that follows a team of robbers as they try to pull a heist on the Royal Mint of Spain. And let me tell you, it is excellent. It is originally in Spanish, so it is dubbed, and while I will not say that it never bothers me, it does not get in the way of the incredible story that it is. So,
Right? I
Money
watched
Heist.
5 episodes of Money Heist with a friend when I used to work events, and I was sold on it, and then I never came home and picked it up. But it's really been calling me lately that I need to get into watching Money Heist again. So maybe I might talk Allie into watching it with me. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's
Maybe.
definitely in. There's a lot of good stuff that you can watch out there. Just if you're kind of bored, wondering what you should do next, I definitely would recommend giving Money Heist a chance.
Nice. Anything else you've been watching besides Money Heist?
I'm also cruising through Community. As you guys know, I've mentioned it the last few times. Community.
It made it on Netflix finally. I have no excuses not to watch it with you.
It is. I am currently on the gas leak year, which is season 4, which is definitely the worst of all the seasons, but it's still surprisingly okay. Like, I like it. Sarah Bareilles shows up. They're puppets. They go through their origin stories. You know, it's definitely missing Dan Harmon, but the community love is still there. So
That's rad. That's super rad.
Oh,
Allie, you been
and-
watching anything? Oh, sorry.
sorry. And Brie Larson shows up. One of my favorite parts.
Captain America. I just did that for your face. If only we
was
were recording this so you could see my wife's reaction. Obviously, Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, but Allie is the biggest fan of Captain Marvel,
Love
and
Captain
Brie Larson
Marvel.
is quite an extraordinary actress.
Yes.
I don't know if I could recommend Community then, because no spoilers, but she comes in and she is very cute and quirky to fit with one of the characters as a love interest, but then she got busy with other stuff and didn't come back, so she just mysteriously disappears.
That's funny. I don't know. We'll have to see. Allie, what have you been watching this week? Anything that you think the world needs to know about?
I picked up Scandal again. I'd kind of stopped watching it for a little bit, but I picked it back up again. So I've been watching that. I rewatched Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I think that's about it.
Al, what did we watch this weekend? Like, I can't even remember. Like, we watched a couple of comedies, but we also watched Gone Girl.
Yeah, we watched Gone Girl. We also watched The Death of Stalin, I think is what it is. It has Steve Buscemi and Jeffrey Tambor and a few other people in it. But it was super funny, very, very dark comedy. Obviously about Stalin. So
And what happened in the USSR after he died.
extremely dark comedy. So if that's your jam, I recommend it. If you don't find things like that funny, not for you. Don't watch it. The other thing we watched was The Death of a Sacred Deer.
The Killing of a Sacred
Killing
Deer.
of a Sacred Deer.
Have you heard about that one, Josh?
I have not.
Josh, I think it's one you would like. It's on Netflix.
And it's from the same guy who made The Lobster, which is one of your favorite films.
Oh, Yorkovich.
Was freaking weird.
It was a
Yorgos
weird.
Lanthimos.
Yeah, it was weird. I
fell asleep.
I fell asleep in it.
I watched the whole thing because I had to know what was going to happen. And
What was it called?
The Killing of a Sacred Deer. It has the same who is that guy? He's
Is
really
it a
big.
movie?
It's the same guy that stars in The Lobster, Josh.
Oh, I know him.
I can't think of his name, but I'm going to
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell.
So it's
Right.
Colin Farrell in it.
So yeah, so Colin Farrell is the main guy. It's bananas.
Here you go. Here's just the synopsis of it because it was really like when I saw it was really good. I was just super tired. It says Dr. Stephen Murphy is a renowned cardiovascular surgeon who presides over a spotless household with his wife and 2 children.
His wife is Nicole Kidman.
Lurking in the margins of his idyllic suburban existence is Martin, a fatherless teen who insinuates himself into the doctor's life in gradually unsettling ways. Soon the full scope of Martin's intent becomes menacingly clear when he confronts Stephen with a long forgotten transgression that will shatter his domestic bliss forever.
It sounds awesome, and it's A24, and I love A24, and
It's
so I'm definitely
definitely
going to check it
one.
out.
Yeah, it's definitely one you would like, Josh. It's
And you
very
said it's on
up your alley.
Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. It looks super awesome. Have you guys watched The Lobster? You were mentioning it a lot.
I watched it.
I have not.
I was not a fan only because of, spoiler alert, the lady that kills the dog. I
That
couldn't
was
with that.
intense. No,
I
yeah,
couldn't
that
with that.
was. I was lucky enough. So Jaleesa didn't really watch it with me. I watched it for the first time a few years ago on a Saturday, and I was going in and out of doing chores, and I just decided to stop and watch the movie and then go back. So Jaleesa was in and out of doing chores, and so she would pop in at random places, and you can imagine what Jaleesa's reaction to many parts of that movie were. My wife, of course, is very, she doesn't get into movies a lot, very much like I do, and so she was just very like, what the heck is going on, why? And she's like, what is that? And like, I guess kind of spoiler, we already said a little spoiler on Lobster, but spoiler for the Lobster, she when I'm like trying to explain to her that the dog is her brother, and then just trying to explain the entire process and what the hotel is, she's just like, what? Like, this doesn't make sense. I'm like, it's a whole thing. Like,
Mhm.
I loved Yorgos Lanthimos. Have you guys watched The Favorite?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
At least I'm pretty sure. Let me double check because I don't want to like spread any misinformation. Yes. Okay. So Yorgos Lanthimos, he made The Favorite, which stars Olivia Colman, Rachel Weisz, and Emma Stone.
Mm.
It is excellent. You should check it out sometime. It is also definitely very weird, but very good. It got a lot of Oscar nominations.
I'm trying to convince Allie to go on a Wes Anderson rewatching spree with me.
Probably won't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to watch a couple more of this guy's films. But we'll stop boring y'all with the details of what we've been watching this week because we watched a lot of good stuff and I think it was enjoyable all around. Also, I've been watching Dragon Ball Z again. More Ugly Delicious and lots of YouTube on cooking. So there you have it. That's what I've been doing in the world of Casey watching things. We're here to talk Tiger King. And we're gonna have to do a spoiler-free segment of it. Really quickly, like Tiger King is probably the most, I would say, the most interesting documentary on Netflix right now. And it essentially bases around this guy named Joe Exotic and his zoo in Oklahoma. And he's this tiger wizard. He's a very flamboyant man with just the desire to essentially knock off one of his competitors, copycat slash be a Padawan of another one of his competitors, and all at the same time provide his colleagues with meth, guns, and a good time.
And also run for president.
Oh, and also run for president and governor of Oklahoma. Spoilers there. But Josh, you got some of them details pulled up?
I definitely do. And while you're going off that, I just wanted to say I sent a text to a friend today about Tiger King, and I was just like, that would be my summary in a tweet. Like, if I had to do a summary in a tweet for Tiger King, it would be this. And it was even shorter than what a regular tweet is. And where is it? Oh, here it is. Perfect. Okay. So to my friend Tony, because he asked if I watched Tiger King, and I said, heck yeah, man, a nonstop white trash thrill ride.
If America was a person.
That was my line.
Exactly.
So that was my summary in the tweet. All right, so here we've got Tiger King. It's the genre is true crime documentary is what it's listed as officially. Directed by Eric Good and Rebecca Chaiklin, starring Joe Exotic, Maldonado Passage, Carol Baskin, Bhagavan Antle, John Finley, Rick Kirkham, John Rink, Seth Saffery, Jeff Lowe, Howard Baskin, Travis Maldonado, Dylan Passage, Tim Stark. It has now 8 episodes. The original Tiger King only had 7 episodes, but they just recently today, I think, right? Released.
Yeah,
if it wasn't
they did.
today, it was very recently that they just released an 8th episode with Joel McHale speaking with a lot of the people in Tiger King about its release and its reception and how it's really not changed the world, I guess, but like it has easily been the most watched thing in Netflix during this outbreak. Um, it's on Netflix right now. The running time for the episodes is 41 to 48 minutes. Critical reception, it has an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes with an average rating of 7.8 out of 10 and a Metacritic score of 75 out of 10. 75 out of 10? Whew, 75 out of 100.
So what
And
you're
it's
saying was
also
75 out of 10. It's a damn good watch, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. And also, a lot of it would definitely be because of the coronavirus pandemic. But over the first 10 days of its release, it was watched by 34.3 million people. And by that, they mean 34.3 million devices watched it. So who knows how many people were watching on those devices. So yeah, so we definitely wanted to do an episode because I didn't. I saw a meme recently that definitely, and of course, everyone is seeing Tiger King memes right now. But I saw a meme that definitely described it because everyone's talking about Tiger King. Everyone's doing Tiger King stuff. And with the quarantine, everyone's talking about Tiger King. And I'm just like, what? I don't get it. And so I saw a meme recently that was just a regular guy sitting on his couch. And it's like episode 1 of Tiger King. And he said that. He's just like, I don't get it. And then it was him on episode 4. And he was dressed like Joe Exotic. And he had the handlebar mustache, and he's like, Carol freaking Baskin.
Oh man. Well, so much has like gone on. This has literally become what I feel like a cultural phenomena could be described as. Literally, I don't know if you've seen this, but like the guy who plays Dwight has done some posts about, like, it seems like every major celebrity has done it, like some posts about it. Everyone's fighting for who's gonna play Joe Exotic, who's gonna play the variety of characters within a major motion picture, because it needs to happen. And I think it would be a riot to have happen. And I don't know, it's just all
Who
around
would you
good
pick?
fun. Who would I pick?
Yes.
Oh man, that's a great question. For the guy with I'm sorry, the guy with no legs who wears the freaking like looking inked up prosthetics, I think that Brad Pitt is the perfect choice for that guy. Like he would be excellent. For Joe Exotic, I think I don't know.
Who's the one that thinks Matthew McConaughey?
Oh, that's who that is. Sorry,
should play
it's Matthew
him.
McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey. It's the guy with the prosthetic legs. That's who it is.
He would just be perfect.
He would be. I could
picture it. Like, I was thinking like skinny, methed out Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah,
Matthew
Matthew
McConaughey.
McConaughey.
Not but just to, that guy was not on meth. He said he was clean. Shout out to him. Good job. But
yeah, all of this is just the craziest thing.
I have a list here where they asked people who should play him, and they have the top 5. You ready? So the top 5 people that different people, top 5 actors that should play Joe Exotic according to a poll in America. Number 5 is David Spade. Number 4 is Ben Stiller. Number 3 is Dax Shepard.
That's the one I want.
For Joe Exotic.
Dax Shepard, hell yes.
Number 2 is Jared Leto. And number 1 is Sam Rockwell.
For Joe Exotic?
Wait, which one is Sam Rockwell?
Sam Rockwell's the bad guy who turns good in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. He's the leader in Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, yes. Okay, I could see that, but I'm definitely for Dax Shepard. I'm here for Dax Shepard.
I could see that, definitely. Sorry.
Okay. Excellent. No, that's great. I love this. I think it's so good. I remember, like, I'm just gonna kind of like, let's kind of get rolling on this. So when Tiger King kind of first came out, straight up, I like saw the previews for it and I was like, what is this garbage? And that's exactly what I like thought to myself.
Me too.
And then Alex and I were kind of like, maybe we'll watch it. And so we put on one episode. Okay, we're like, let's just put on an episode and let's see how we do it. We watched one episode, took the dog for a walk, watched the other 6 episodes in one sitting after that.
We watched the entire series in a day. Who was one of the, so they just, no spoilers, they just recently had another episode come out. an 8th episode where they just basically like a follow-up special. And one of the people said, I sat down and watched the whole thing in 7 hours. And I was like, that was us.
That's John.
John Finley.
John Finley. He's like, I watched the whole thing in 7 hours. And I was like, champion of the people. The hero we
Same
need.
man, same.
Yeah. What do you think, Josh? Like, when you first heard about Tiger King, like, what did you kind of think about it? And then when you sat down and watched it, what was your experience?
I definitely had the same reactions where I saw a lot of good reviews, and then every once in a while I just saw someone saying, I don't get this show just is white trash, and it's so much white trash that I couldn't even get through it, you know? And so I was like, well, I don't know if I want to watch that. It just sounds like it would be really dumb, and like, I don't know if I could sit through that much of this. And then I watched the first episode, and I was like, okay, this is really good. And I watched the second episode, and I was like, I'm all the way in. So I definitely watched it over the course of like 2 days, not like 1 day. But that's basically how fast I watched Stranger Things, which was just one more episode. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I was definitely all in. Joe Exotic is quite a character, and he's possibly the most beloved criminal in America right now. To a lot of people.
Yeah.
With the ugliest mullet of all time. Actually, it's kind of
Definitely.
glorious. I would actually imagine that being on a unicorn at some point.
A really white trash unicorn.
America, what can we say?
Just a horse painted with a unicorn.
I don't know. Like, what do you think, Josh? So when we get into kind of this, like, and here's my question for you. We're in spoilers at this point. There are 3 roadside zoos that are kind of portrayed in this. You have Doc Antle's Roadside Zoo, where he kind of runs a cult. Carol Baskin's roadside attraction in Florida, America's basement. And then you also have Joe Exotic's, whatever his zoo is called as well. Like, these 3 zoos. The GW Zoo, which is like a triangle of weirdness of big cats. Like, are all of these people just wild up in the night, the same type of people, or do you think that what they're doing at each zoo is different?
These are definitely very different types of people. And the documentary kind of goes a lot into these different zoos and how they came to pass and really what brought people to these places, both to volunteer, to work there, or to start them. And as you look at them, they're very different people. I mean, Joe Exotic comes from Oklahoma, and it's this zoo that exists out in the middle of nowhere, and it is very, very almost, I don't want to say run down, because they would do what they could to take care of the animals, but it's not very like professional. It's like you'd walk in and it's just like you've got this gift shop that looks like it's in a rundown shack. Whereas if you go to Doc Antle's, his has like he's riding around on a freaking elephant in the middle of his, and there's a ton of stuff. And then Carol Baskins, as much as she makes it seem like it's like this beautiful, glorious place, it's also just like these people kind of stand and wait outside this weird metal gate, and then they open it for people to come in. And it's like all of these people are kind of fighting for a place within the big cat attraction life, but they're all in some way or another still lacking a bit of what it actually takes to do it and to take care of them in the right way. So it's such an interesting play between these 3 different places and how different of people they are.
I think the biggest thing I took from it was every episode with Carol Baskin is I was just saying, what is so different about what she's doing versus what, Joe Exotic and Doc Antle are doing? Like, what is so different about it? And what really bothered me was that she was so high and mighty about what she was doing versus what they were doing, when really what she was doing was exactly the same thing. And it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I was like, listen, do I like what Joe Exotic and Doc Antle are doing? No. Do I think people should be petting tiger cubs? No. I have really strong opinions about how animals are treated, and just generally, I'm big on animal activism in general. I think animals should be taken care of, but I don't think that what Carol Baskin does is taking care of animals at all. I think it's bull.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's such a fine line between like actually like what they were all doing is what Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty would say, just slavery with different steps or extra steps, right? Like each of these people kind of had they were like, you know, the ringmaster, and then they had all these people who were either working for free as volunteers to get different colored shirts. They were living there under the guise of being mentored by some sort of wise person. But I feel like Joe Exotic's business model up front was the most American dream business model ever, though, because he had a place essentially, come and work, you get food, second hands from Walmart, you know, all this type of stuff, whatever. But at the same time, all of them were the same thing. Come look at these exotic animals, which we are breeding, which we are raising, and pay us money for it. And really, none of these people are in the right, in my opinion. And that's just, but remember, opinions are like armpits or assholes. Everyone has one, and most of them stink. But it's just kind of one of those things where I just didn't understand how everyone was just so different. I don't know. This show was just a wild roller coaster of all sorts of one, human rights problems, and two, animal rights issues, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and one of the interesting things that was brought up in, and again, no spoilers. I know that we've kind of gotten into that realm, but this just recently came out, that eighth episode. And one of the really interesting things that Saf brought up, if you remember Saf, he was the one that got his arm bit off by a tiger, part of his arm bit off. And he said that basically, listen, what Joe Exotic was doing was not good. Joe Exotic, he's not a good guy. But the thing about this documentary is that there's not good guys and bad guys. There's just a lot of people doing a lot of crap, and it's just basically a lot of humans. And there are some humans with better intentions than other humans. I genuinely believe that there are some of the people that are working for all of the different types of people who really believe that what they're doing is right, and they're doing it for the cats, and they're trying to take care of the cats, and they're doing everything that they can. And that's really what I got from Saf. I think Saf is the most neutral character. Not a character, he's a person, but the most neutral person on the show. Just very much, you know, sympathetic to Joe Exotic, but also recognizing that what he did was a lot of bad stuff. And so I just really liked his perspective of, listen, I was in it for the animals. I wanted to help the animals. I did everything I could to help the animals. I genuinely think a lot of these people had the very best of intentions. But at the end of the day, what were they doing and how was it different?
I mean, if you think about, so you mentioned like one of your favorite like characters, and while they're not characters, they're people, we can still use the term character study when we talk about this documentary, because while they're not characters, we're just looking into people and who they are and why they became the way they are. It's why a lot of documentaries are so thrilling and so exciting to watch and so interesting, because you get to see a lot into, or what, you know, we can see from the surface or from these documentaries about people and why they are the way they are. That was the second reason that, you know, my favorite documentary I've watched, at least in recent years, has got to be Free Solo, because it wasn't just about the climb. It wasn't just about that. It was so much about Alex Honnold as a person and what was going on. And so that was what made the Tiger King so interesting, was that it wasn't just looking at the Tigers and all of the fights between, you know, them and everything like that. Is that, yes, it was about Joe Exotic, but it looked so deep into Joe Exotic and what he was, and it looked into Doc Antle as much as he would allow them, and also to Carol Baskin. And you just got to see the play between these people, what they were doing, how they cared about the animals, but how they got distracted by other things, and what it turned out to be, which was just a huge, hot, stinking mess.
Yeah, literally. Well, let's kind of start out. We've kind of like talked about this array of characters. If you've watched Tiger King, you know exactly who these people are, but let's kind of like look at them. So let's start out with Joe Exotic, right? He is this, I would call him this redneck cowboy gunslinging type figure. One. Two, he is a gay man and he's married to like two guys at once. He also decides to run for governor. He has this big cat rescue. Like, there's so much about this person that's so complex, right? And then on top of that, like, he's running this business because probably when he was younger, he really enjoyed and loved the big cats and wanted to preserve them. He got lost somewhere, just like you said, Josh. And then we look at Doc Antle, who is like this deity type thing. He runs this almost like you're going to India Zoo with tiger wrestlers, bikini clad tiger wrestlers. I don't know what else you want to call it. Like these people who are just kind of like living under him. He has like 5 wives or something like that. It's just like super interesting. You have Carol Baskin, who essentially has this tiger zoo down in Florida. Her husband has gone missing. She has a weird backstory as well. And all these characters, like, you just kind of like, you don't know who they really are the entire time, though, because it's just like every episode, they're just like, here's a little like crumb of this person, and you're like, ooh, this is really tasty. And then here comes the next person. Oh, thank you for the crumbs of like information about these people's lives. It just gets wilder and wilder all the time. I don't know how you can like do it. I don't get it.
There's a meme that's like every episode of The Tiger King. But wait, there's more. And that's really how it feels, is every episode you're like, what is happening? Like, what
How
is
can it
going
get crazier
on?
than this?
You're like, you think it's about the true crime aspect of Carol Baskin and her missing husband. You think it's about Joe Exotic in general. You think it's about this. You think it's about that. And it's just so many. There's the random part where the one drug king guy shows up for like half of an episode, and he like just like pops out of nowhere, and he's like the real life Godfather guy. Was it Godfather? Or
Yeah.
I don't feel like it was Godfather. I feel like-
Marlon Brando's character is like based off of him in The Godfather. or
no,
something like
it's
that.
not the Godfather.
Scarface?
Scarface.
Sorry.
Right.
It's Scarface. He's like real life Scarface. It's just so many different things, and there's prison, there's murder, there's polygamy, there's cults, there's tigers, there's like what is happening. I think that's why people like it so much, is because it's just every episode is what is going on.
I feel like when this guy pitched to Netflix, I think that was probably his pitch. Like, it wasn't anything. He didn't go into the documentary or what he did. He's like, all right, so just listen, guys. Tigers, polygamy, president, murder, mayhem, arms being bitten off. What else do you want?
You want to know who probably did it? Was Tom Haverford and his friend
John Ralphio.
John Ralphio. That's who pitched this.
I just got my arm
That's
bit
who
off
came
by a
in.
tiger,
Just-
and now I'm flush with cash.
That's who did this. That's who pitched this to them. They came in with their strobe lights.
Which, by the way, quick plug for, not plug because I'm not actually advertising it, but just I'm excited for Space Force. Comes out on May 29th by Greg Daniels, starring Steve Carell and Ben Schwartz, who is Jean Ralphio. So it's going to be great. Anyway, sorry, you just mentioned him. And yeah, exactly. And so I was honestly thinking of that, like when I was doing that, just like, what, Mom? Like, from that episode of Parks and Rec. That's basically what it was. It's just all of these different things. And you're like, how does this all fit into a 7-episode mini documentary and have purpose without feeling all over the place? But it does. And it's crazy.
And what's crazy is like inside of this like series, there's also there's the main documentary that's being shot, right, for Netflix. Then on top of that, there's this documentary that Joe Exotic is filming for joeexotic.tv or whatever. And there's this guy who's like, this is what's going to get me primetime TV. This is how I'm going to make my millions. And he's recording all of this stuff as well and shooting all of this for Joe Exotic. And they're just having a heyday with it. And you're like not quite sure what to believe. Like, what is fiction, right? Like, what is real? And it's just the weirdest experience all around. This is like what I imagine, like right here, is this is an acid trip gone wrong. You were in the wrong mindset. You went to the zoo 45 minutes before your dab hit, and you're just going for it. And it's kind of like out there. But this is exactly what I can imagine. There's probably a Rick and Morty episode that was built around this. And Tiger King was dropped, and they're like, we can't actually do this. Because I don't even know how this was real, to be honest with you. Like, Josh, what do you think, like, the truthfulness of this story is? Because, like, I think half of it's a lie.
There's no way that it's all true, you know, like, There's things that directly contradict each other within it. And so you know that there's no way that it can all actually be true. A lot of America right now believes that Carol Baskin killed her husband. Other people think that it's all bullcrap. Some people think that, Joe Exotic actually deserves to be in jail. Others say, oh, I don't know about that. So, like, it's just super crazy how you look at all of these different aspects of the story and what's happened, and it's all over the place.
What do you think is the wildest theory to come out of this series, though? Like, besides Carol Baskin killing her husband, yeah, like, what is the most interesting thing that you think has happened?
I think it's been, honestly, I think it's probably been the show's crazy amount of outpouring of support for Joe Exotic. Because even though in the end the documentary tries to make it clear, like, hey, like, yeah, he got convicted, he is in jail and all this other stuff, just because he was a character and so much of it was told from his view and everything like that, and it showed his personal life and what's happened, people have sympathized with him, right?
Oh yeah.
And while they have done that, it's crazy because, I know that a lot of times the justice system can be broken, but it seems that they proved without a doubt that he really did do this thing that he is in jail for. There have been many people, including celebrities, who have petitioned and started even GoFundMe's, which I don't know how that would help, to get Joe Exotic out of jail. And it's like, that's not how this works. Like, do you guys understand what's going on here? Like, he's in jail for a reason. And I get that he might be like a funny, crazy guy or whatever, and he'd be wild at any party you went to, but like, that doesn't mean that he shouldn't be in jail. He definitely deserves to be there because of the stuff that he's done. So that's probably my biggest crazy takeaway from it.
I think I agree. I think it's crazy how many people, because like I said before, I very much took from this documentary that there's no good guys and there's no bad guys. There is just people, and some people are worse than other people. And the big thing with all of the support for Joe Exotic that really blows my mind is all of the people that know him have pretty much come out and said, no, he's where he deserves to be. And there's some people that are more sympathetic to him than others, saying, hey, I hope he doesn't die there. Other people saying, no, he should stay there. But the general consensus is justice was served in the people that understood the case and recognized. Now, do I think that all other parties are 100% innocent either? No. But I think it's interesting that people are like, oh, presidential pardon, Joe Exotic, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's so interesting to me, the people that people get behind in things like this.
Weird times, man. Weird times. Josh, what do you think? Where do we want to go next with this?
Who do you guys think was the most sane person on the show?
Saf was pretty sane. I think it was the head zookeeper guy who looks like he belongs in Guns N' Roses. What's his name right here? Eric Cowie, the head zookeeper. That guy just legit looks like he's just the most real, down to earth, like, F this, like, here's the reality of it, in my opinion. But I don't know. Could have been anyone. I don't know.
I think that's a solid choice. And even though I think maybe, for me, even though I think at time maybe his aspirations were a little bit larger than life for who he was, I ended up thinking that the sanest person on the show was Josh, Joe's campaign manager. And it's for reasons that I'll get into later, because I have sort of like my big takeaway moment from Tiger King was something that he said towards the end, right? But I think that he was one of the people who was, sane, because he knew that they weren't going to win the election, but he's like, hey man, this guy's going to pay me to do it. It's my dream job. Why not freaking go for it and do it? And just him, like, being around there with all those people was just crazy, and even though he was just doing his part and he ended up, fitting in there however you can, like, I think that he brought a really, like, down to earth sort of perspective on the whole situation. Like they would cut to him, and it was kind of more of like a what everyone else is thinking, because a lot of the people would have crazy opinions one way or the other, and Josh would be like, "Yo, man, like this is what's happening, and it's crazy, but it's what Joe wants. It's how Joe thinks. So that's what you got to do."
Yeah, I felt like he was kind of like the Jim of this show, where they would do it, and he just kind of would have that face like, "Yep, this happened," or "This is happening," like kind of just like, like the Jim face type thing. I don't know. I think all these characters we've listed were fairly sane, but I think you hit the nail on the head. I think he was probably the most sane person on there. He knew what he was getting into, and he knew that this was an opportunity for him. Weird times, but it worked. I don't know. What do you think? What's next, Josh?
I don't know. There's so many things. So also, here's a quick, because I've got like my little list of fast, quick facts open. This was, I probably should have known, but it was confirmed in my list of quick facts. Joe Exotic did not sing his own songs.
Yes. No, definitely not.
Because every time it would go through, I'd be like, that is a crazy amount of auto tune that's going on there. It wasn't even that. It was just sung by different people. And it was funny to see him, playing the role in his music videos of himself, but it wasn't actually, him singing it. So that was definitely funny. So Jeff Lowe's park now, right, which was Joe's old park, is surging. Well, not as much anymore because of everything. It's closed down. But after it aired first, when it wasn't as strict, tons of people went. Like tons of people were at the park.
I can imagine people love to go where there's like controversy and thrill. Like I think like just imagine just going to this park, right? And being like, "You were on the Tiger King, this crazy stuff happened." And I can imagine they just have tours based around the documentary now. Like, "Oh, this is where this happened. This is where Joe blew up the refrigerator or did this type of crap where he burned down the I don't know, the editing house, whatever, like just kind of like interesting things. I can imagine that they're just soaking up that stuff."
So I've got two things now. I know we've kind of been struggling just because there's so much crazy stuff that happens in this. So let's talk about, I've got two things that definitely I think need to be addressed. So number one is also just sort of a factor, or wanting to know what you guys think as far as a reaction. Obviously, after the series has aired, Carol Baskin and her husband have spoken out against the series, which obviously is not a surprise, saying that they just used bits and pieces and unrelevant information, both from themselves as well as people who can't be trusted at all, as they said. And I wanted to know how truthful you thought the makers of the documentary probably were in telling their story, because for them, they thought that it was going to be more about them and what they were doing in their park, whereas they just said, "Oh, all this Joe Exotic stuff and all this stuff about your husband is just for like background story and stuff, so we can tell this different story." What do you guys think about how they told the story with her, and also about her speaking out? Because it hasn't been a little bit; it's been strong over the last few weeks that she's been speaking out against the series and its inaccurate portrayal of reality.
I think that the truth hurts a little bit sometimes. I think that the reality that really what she's doing is maybe not quite what she wants to hear. I think that honestly, like with other people, I think maybe she has the best of intentions with these things. But again, like I said before, I don't see how what she's doing is any different. I think the truth hurts. I think that obviously with any documentary, you're going to have some misportrayal of different people. I don't think that what you see is what you get for anybody on the show. From Carol Baskin to Joe Exotic, you're not going to be getting exactly what the reality is, no matter what a documentary crew wants to tell you. You're going to have bias. You're going to have pushing towards one view or the other. But at the same time, like I said, if Carol Baskin wants to see herself as the good guy, there's no such thing as a good guy or a bad guy in real life. And if she was hoping to be portrayed that way, I think she was kind of kidding herself.
Well, and just kind of going into it, like common sense might tell someone being interviewed and being asked questions that are slightly controversial, that they want to stir up a little bit of, the water. They want to murk up the waters a little bit. But I don't know where I
And
sit on that, because
I think that you're exactly right. And I think that because of how much they hated each other and wanted to show how awful the other one was, Joe Exotic and Carol Baskin were willing to do that, where Doc Antle was not as much. He sort of recognized what they were trying to do. And so whenever they would get too close to like dicey subjects or whatever, he would steer it away. Right.
I
But I think
loved that
that
he would just kind of call it out, like, "You're not gonna have this ammunition to use against me," type thing, or the, kindling for the fire, whatever. That was good. Like, Doc Antle, Doc Antle is much smarter than either of the other two, in my opinion, on what he the way he answered questions. He's much more, what's the word, politically correct. He was just kind of smart.
Yeah.
well, he was smart as far as not doing his best not to show everyone what a crazy cult polygamous leader he was.
Oh man, yeah.
Okay, all right, and this is the other one that I wanted to mention because it will obviously bring up a lot of the stuff that we've missed that made the Tiger King so exciting. What were, for you guys, the most crazy and or shocking moments?
That's hard to, like, literally, like, each
In a
episode
show
had at
full
least,
of bombshells.
yeah,
The whole thing.
each episode had like 3 major, like, moments where you're like, holy shit, this just happened. And so let me think about that for a second. Do you got a couple, Al?
Yeah. Saf getting his arm bit off.
I'll throw out mine because I'm
Just like
pretty
the
sure.
footage of that purely just like was crazy, and he talks about it in this follow-up episode. So if you haven't watched that follow-up episode, watch it. I've been reading people have been saying it's boring, but I think it's kind of fun. Like it's what they said it was gonna be. Like it's just a follow-up with a few people, a few of like the side characters who are kind of interesting. Anyway, Saf getting his arm bit off. I think I have some personal interest in that type of thing just because of the man that I'm married to and the stories he likes to tell.
It's tough to be shorthanded. He got a lot of stories, and I guess now I could make the joke that I used to work in a roadside zoo.
You should just tell people.
But that's me.
Yes, you look just like Saf. The whole thing with Carol Baskin's missing husband, whether you believe she fed him to the tigers or not, her casual thought of sardine oil just got me.
That has been my favorite because there's so many good memes. That is my favorite meme where it shows her and she's like, the only way you could get a tiger to eat a person is if you like covered them in police or something. And then there's that picture of that famous moment in the NBA Finals with LeBron and J.R. Smith where he's like, what are you doing? And it shows us and the police are J.R. Smith just like clueless. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring up one which I'm pretty sure is on a lot of people's mind. Definitely the most shocking and probably jarring episode or part of the entire series for me, which I did not see coming at all, was Travis's suicide.
Yes.
Yes.
So shocking.
Just like just Josh's face, like in that video.
Can you imagine?
But there's a lot of speculation that it wasn't a suicide, that it was just 100% an accident. There's a little bit of speculation on both, but but Josh stands by the fact that it was an accident. He fully believes that it was an accident.
That has just got to be, like, accident or not. Just when that happened, because I was already enthralled in the series. I wasn't paying attention to much else. But the moment that happened, the world like stopped moving around me. It was just so shocking, so out of the blue, because it had spent the previous 10 minutes or so just looking into Travis and his relationship with Joe and how truthful he had really been about his sexuality and about all of that other stuff, and then just to have that happen, accident or not, right in front of Josh, that has just got to be one of the craziest experiences of his entire life. Just something that was so sad, so gut-wrenching to see and just I don't even know how to put words to it. It was a moment, like I said, where everything stopped around me, where I was just like, what is happening in this? How has it come to this, So
Yeah, I thought
it's insane.
when that happened, I looked at Allie and was like, "Did he just like?" I didn't believe that it happened. To be super honest with you, I was kind of like, I was so shocked. I don't really know what else to say about it. To be honest with you, it was just crazy. I think aside from that, the introduction of Jeff Lowe, his coup of the zoo, like literally that guy. Like what's that play, The Music Man, where he just kind of shows up, fake sells instruments, and somehow wins the town over in the long run?
The Music Man.
That's what I said. The Music Man.
Oh, you were looking at me like you wanted me to tell you what
Well,
it
I was
was.
just like making sure that my analogy made sense. Like, that's literally what I thought. I was like, Jeff Lowe is the Music Man. He's here taking over the zoo. So many things going on. Just a nut house.
But
And
but Harold Hill ends up being not that bad, and Jeff Lowe is
he's a trash
Bad
he's
can.
a beat
word.
bag.
He's a dumpster fire, is what he is.
He's
But
a misogynistic butt.
yeah, he's terrible. But I don't know what anything else like I can
I
think of. Like
definitely.
the fashion sense was terrible as well. Just what were these clothes that they were wearing? They should all be burned.
That is the
There's
most
just
shocking thing about the hairstyles.
there's just so much in this show that we could go over that we can't because of time constraints, because every single episode is just packed with insane stuff. Two things that I think we should just at least mention quickly are, one, of course, Joe's political campaigning, as well as just Doc Antle's place and the interviewing they were able to get with the ex-worker who worked there was so crazy and interesting and just over the top with what you realized was going on,
Well, that campaign, that's also the part where one of like the most interesting things where the tiger became obsessed with Joe's shoes, right? Like while he's trying to film a campaign video, and it's like now there's this conspiracy theory that Carol Baskin somehow got one of his employees to put like sardine oil on his boots. Like there's so much to this, and then yeah, I don't even know that interview with the employee with Doc Antle's like former lover, employee, person, cult member, whatever, was such a like it really reminded me of watching like Wild Wild Country, or like going in and seeing like one of these like cult or religion people who have escaped from these type of cults documentary. It just sounded just like that to me. It was just mind-blowing. It's
Full
nuts.
on cult. I'm that person, like that meme where the person's sitting at the desk and they have the sign that says, change my mind. Doc Antle Zoo is a cult, change my mind. Like, you can't do it. You can't change my mind that that's not a cult.
It definitely is.
Anything else before we kind of close this episode out? Any last thoughts on Tiger King from either of you?
I just want to know who thinks Carol Baskin killed her husband.
Everyone does.
Everyone.
Everyone
Who
thinks she
doesn't
killed
think
her
Carol
husband.
Baskin fed her husband to tigers?
I definitely have my final. Sorry, I was saving it for the end because it was the biggest thing that I got out of the show, the documentary, was near the very end, like after all was said and done, and Carol Baskin and her new husband, who she has on a leash in their Halloween costumes and stuff, are just sitting there. They're sitting there sipping their champagne and stuff, and Joe's in prison and everything like that. And like Allie mentioned, how there's no good guys or bad guys. There was honestly, someone said, not in this, but just like in other places, someone said there was no winners or losers. And I would agree that there was no winners, but there was definitely losers in this. And as much as, everyone kind of was degraded from this, the most sane thing that was said in the entire show, like I mentioned before, was by Josh, is that the losers were the Tigers. And that in the end, really, they all, no matter, and we all know that they're not doing what really needs to be done for these cats, but looking at these people and looking about how much they really do care about them, you know that they all have the right intentions. They're just not going about it the right way and just not doing what actually needs to be done for these tigers in the first place. But you know that they all want to and they're all trying to do their best. But what happened, and the most poignant thing that was said in the entire series, was in the end, Carol Baskins spent a fortune. She spent millions and millions of dollars pursuing Joe Exotic, trying to get him in jail. Joe Exotic fought back, and while he didn't have the money, he spent time and efforts and got money from the zoo and just did everything he could to go after her as well. And this personal feud from two people who loved wildlife so much, supposedly, funneled millions of dollars and time into them wanting to get each other instead of preserving the wildlife that started it all. And that was just the thing that just drove me crazy and really made you think about it, was that this personal feud and these people just going at each other stopped so much resources and so much stuff into what they were actually saying their cause was. And so you could think about that so many different ways, but you just think about like in life, like in our lives or anything like that, like what, and like maybe I'm going like too like deep for, you know, what they're trying to get across, but like in life, like what either personal feuds or just like what do you have that you could change that actually like would help something. And I don't know if that's like the best like way to take it away, but just thinking about that, saying, hey, these people originally started wanting to save wildlife, but in them saying the other one was doing it so bad, they wasted and sacrificed what their original like true purpose was.
Well, and that's the reality of like the challenge that is animal rights and animal protection and animal welfare. Yeah, it's just there is such a fine line between doing what's right for the animals and doing what's right for your checkbook.
Mm-hmm.
And people love to find the reason to do what's right for their checkbook over doing what's right for animals. And that's a hard thing to like. We can all sit here and say, I wouldn't be that person. I wouldn't do things to exploit animals. And I would hope that none of us would be, right? But none of us have ever had a big cat. And it's kind of like they talk about at the first of that. People love big cats. Big cats make you feel powerful. Big cats make you feel invincible. I don't know any of this personally, but that's what they say. And you can see each of them, like, they have a reason and there is a power move, like, with having these big cats. But what I would hope is that we as humanity would be better. That, you know, like I can sit here and say, don't poach animals. Don't, you know, steal rhinos for your, you know, tea, whatever. I don't know. But, like, just, I wish that people would be better. Because, like, let's face it, humans are kind of a virus. I don't know how to say it any other way. But I think you're right, Josh. Like, it's, what a weird thing.
I agree. I think that like you said, and like Josh in the documentary says, is that the tigers are the real losers here. Is they don't have a say, they don't have a voice, and they're not the ones really being fought over here. They're, you know, it's people and it's humans. And kind of going back, I know I've talked about Saf a lot because I think he's awesome. But Saf talks about how he wants what's best for these tigers, and could these tigers live in the wild? No. But the problem is that they're breeding these tigers for things like cub petting. And my biggest takeaway was from all of this, and something that I felt for a long time, is do your research on things. Don't participate in things that actively hurt animals. Participate in things that will help animals and help them, you know, grow their populations outside of captivity. And you know, don't participate in those types of things if it involves petting a baby animal in terms of like these wild animals. Don't do it. It's not right. It's not what it's supposed to be. They're basically, like in the show, they talk about the speculation that they're just breeding them too, and then later euthanizing them when they don't become useful anymore. It's not just big cats that happens with. And as someone that loves animals and wants to see them thrive and do well, it breaks my heart. as much as this documentary is a laugh and a half because it's so crazy and wild, there were also pieces of it that broke my heart because I saw these poor animals that don't have any control over their situation. That in and of itself is just heartbreaking. And I just want in my life for all beings and creatures to be happy, and call me crazy and call me, you know, some sort of hippie, but that's something I'm passionate about is creatures being able to live their best lives and be happy. I genuinely believe that for some creatures that have been, you know, born in captivity and raised in those types of things, sometimes there are people that work at zoos that are doing everything they can to make sure that these animals have a good life and a positive experience in life. And I appreciate that, and I love that, and I'm grateful for that. I'm not against zoos. I'm not against those types of things. But I'm for the ethical treatment of animals. I am for that. And so that was my takeaway from this, is that we have to be better as humans, is we have to be better to these creatures that have been here longer than we have, that will be here longer than we will be. We have to be better.
We can't forget about the tigers. I mean, as the documentary went along, there was less and less talk about the tigers, and obviously it was because it got crazier and because the situation with Joe and Carol got so involved and intricate. And so obviously that's what tells a good story. And it's not me like downing Tiger King, because obviously it brought a lot of stuff to the surface about stuff that we need to do. But as it went on, it kind of showed the progression of what happened with them as the documentary, and as time went on, there was less and less information about the tigers. There was less and less care for the tigers because we stopped thinking about it watching the documentary. They stopped paying as much attention to it at the zoo. And so we have to do our part. We all have to do what's right and just make the right decisions. It's all very hard, and those facts that they threw up at the end of the documentary just drove me crazy, where it was because they put the actual numbers, but when you broke it down to the percentages, it was like more than 90% of the world's tigers live in captivity in the United States.
Yeah.
Like, that is just a ridiculous number.
And honestly, what kind of bugged me was this is the one thing that really bothered me about this documentary, was that felt a little bit half-assed to me. Was that they just kind of threw that in there at the very end, like they hadn't just kind of, you know, ignored the tigers throughout all of it. And, you know, there could be something said about, you know, it was the journey showing that they're, you know, that it became more about the humans and everything. But it just kind of felt like at the end they were just kind of like, oh yeah, we have to help the tigers. And it just, like I said, it felt a little bit half-assed. And I would just love to see humans do more and try to do more to let these creatures live the way that they were intended to live, in the wild, doing their thing. And yeah, like I just am I'm an animal person. I love animals, and it breaks my heart to see animals treated cruelly, whether that's tigers, whether that's, you know, farm animals, whether that's, you know, dogs, anything in between. Almost nothing in the world makes me more angry than an animal being mistreated. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, I think just really take that and think about that the next time you in any way look at animals and see them differently. I don't think that they're any less than us. I think that they deserve everything.
I'm like looking at I don't know, I just think that was powerful. I'm like looking over at Finn here, like almost crying, thinking about June, and I'm just like,
my
our
little
dog.
baby. My little baby
Love
June.
them.
She deserves everything, and so do all the rest of the animals, and
Yeah.
It's true.
they deserve all the best things in life.
I agree.
So that's Tiger King. Goodness gracious. What a ride.
We could have literally talked, like, if we'd broken this down episode by episode, we could literally do a 7 podcast series.
Absolutely.
1 hour per 1 hour episode. Like, I kid you not. Like, this, like, Tiger King is crazy. If you have watched it, like, really, you know what we're talking about. If you haven't watched it and you've listened to this whole podcast, drop everything, get on Netflix, and binge 7 hours of Tiger King. You will not regret it, but your waistline might. So who knows what's going to happen. But the reality of it is Tiger King was wild. Tiger King was mad. There's so much that could be taken from it. 1, don't be a jerk. 2, take good care of animals. And 3,
look up the memes.
Yeah, look up the memes. That was going to be my closing thought and statement is,
You'll
if
finally
you
understand.
haven't seen Tiger King memes,
You're
Are
not
you
on the
living
internet.
under a rock? I don't even know. But yeah, Josh, anything else before we close it out?
No, just thanks everyone for listening. And I'm sure if you're here and have listened to this much of the podcast, it's very likely that you have watched all of Tiger King. We would love to hear your thoughts. Like we said, there was so much, of course, that we missed. And so just let us know your thoughts on the big moments, the small moments, the crazy moments, and the deep moments, which also happen within the show. So just let us know your thoughts on our social media. If you want to message us directly, if you know us, just we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, check it out, find it. Yeah, and be present with us. It's kind of a crazy time. I threw up a post today that was kind of midsummer, like my two feelings of, what I'm talking about, my mental health. But should you guys need just someone to chat with, just message us directly on the podcast, like Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and like we'll talk with you. We'll be your buddy. Like we want to make sure everyone's taken care of in this time. It's like really hard to like be in your house, and if you're there by yourself, I'm so sorry if you're going crazy because you want to bash your head in the wall because you can't stay with your roommates or whatever, right? Like just if you need a friend, reach out to us. We're happy to be here for you. And also check out our other episodes if you want something good to listen to. We want to make sure that we can continue to do this for ourselves, but for you. Like, and if you have something that we need to watch, let us know. We want to watch things that people and talk about what people want to listen to. So, yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in, as always, to the Pause Rewind Play podcast. We missed
Thank
our
you,
co-host
Allie.
Vince tonight, and we are grateful that Allie could step up and, participate in the episode with us. It's always fun to have my fiery wife here on the episode with us. So, Allie, anything else before we depart?
I'm good. Take care of your animals.
There we go. The closing message. Take care of your animals. Thank you again, as always, for tuning in to the Pause Rewind Play podcast. Find us on social. Go to our website. Do all the good and glorious things, and we will check in with you next time.